George Papaconstantinou is an economist and former Greek government finance minister. He joins us from Athens by webcam. Mr. Papaconstantinou, welcome. Firstly, to the €86 billion question, will the Greek Parliament pass the legislation required to endorse the country's third bailout?
Yes, it will. It will because the opposition will vote with the government in passing these measures. The opposition, Prime Minister Tsipras is in this rare position where he can count on the votes of the opposition. Previous prime ministers were not in that position. His main problem is his own backbenchers. He will lose about 30, 40 of his about 150 MPs, and that will create a problem as he moves on. But the measures will pass tonight.
How much more difficult, though, do you think this process will be to get the legislation through the Parliament now that the IMF has criticised the very substance of the deal being offered by the Eurozone?
I think the IMF makes a good point when it says that additional debt relief is needed. And I think that's a point for the Europeans to take on board as the final deal is negotiated. Because remember, what we have now is not a full deal. We have the precursor of a deal. The next weeks will be the negotiation of the final deal. But I do not think that the IMF report will make a difference tonight. I think the measures will pass, and they will pass with a wide majority.
And what do you think the mood of the Greek people is today? Do they also understand that this isn't the end?
It's a combination of anger, tiredness, because it's been now 6 years of austerity. Many questions to the Prime Minister, who in the last 5 months was singing a completely different tune, and then realizing that the country was at the edge of the abyss. With capital controls, the banks closed, had to capitulate basically to the demands by our European partners. We'll be seeing a shifting in Greek politics in the next weeks and months. And I'm just hoping that it's also the end of the illusions, because over the last 5 years, there were a lot of populist illusions out there and people believed in them.
Well, let's talk about the possible shifts in Greek politics that you see coming. You did touch on the fact that you expect many MPs from the governing party will not endorse the legislation that the Prime Minister indeed wants to push through to get this bailout happening. Where is this going to leave Alexis Tsipras?
The left faction of his party actually believes in Greece quitting the euro and getting the drachma back. These people, some of which are ministers today and are very vocal about their views, will vote against these measures and they will probably splinter into a new party. So Mr. Tsipras will then have to find a new government coalition with more moderate centrist, center-left parties, or govern as a minority government with a vote of tolerance, let's say, from these other parties. And that until the deal is finalized, at which point he will probably go to elections. So you will have a shift, clearly.
And how quickly do you expect that this will take place?
Well, I don't see elections before September or October. A lot will depend on how quickly the deal is sealed, how quickly the money starts flowing into the country. Remember, we have some very acute problems. The banks are closed, and without liquidity support from the European Central Bank, they will run completely out of cash in the next few days. The government has no cash to pay wages and salaries by the end of the month, so it needs some emergency bridge financing from our European partners. So at the moment, while you will see some defections from the Syriza party, you will not see anything more than a reshuffle of the government and the Prime Minister pushing on until he finalizes the deal over the summer period.
George Papaconstantinou, it's been very interesting talking to you, and hopefully we can check back in with you in the coming days.
My pleasure.